What's up everyone, it is Movie Judge here today, and today on another video, I'm going to be doing another collection review video. The last one did pretty well, so I'm going back with another one, and this one's pretty exciting. It is, about, the most awesome action scenes you can ever see with a car, and it's the most iconic and coolest racing. It is none other than Fast and the Furious. That's right, Fast and the Furious collection. I'm going to be going over that. Now, you're all probably thinking, wait a minute, Movie Judge, Will, whichever you prefer. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. They haven't finished the series, there's, the ninth one's coming out. How can you do a collection video? Well, good you asked, because I am actually doing 1 through 7. I am not doing 8, 9, 8, the middle one, the one with Sean Hobbs, and 9. I am not doing those ones or any future ones. The reason for that is because since Paul Walker died, he's not in those, so basically it's almost like a entirely different movie, a entirely different series. It's almost like a soft reboot in a sense. So I am not going into those films, so I am just doing through 1 through 7, plus 7 is truly where it ended, and they just did the other ones just for a cash grab, basically. I'm not saying they're bad movies, but, So that's that, so I just wanted to let you all know that. So we're doing 1 through 7. So that is why I, the collection review with that, and since the new one's coming out, I thought it'd be perfect time to do this. So, with that, that's that. So, before we get into the video, definitely, if you're new, definitely subscribe and turn on notifications so you get to not miss any videos of mine. You don't want to miss any of this, and make sure your YouTube notifications are on as well, so you get to get the notifications from YouTube. Also, like the video if you enjoy, and comment down and tell me what your favorite Fast and Furious movie is. And also, how would you do this list different if you were doing this? And also, what is your favorite car in this collection of movies? So, with that, let's get into the film, let's get into all these movies, and let's go into a review of all of them. So, relax, sit back, it's gonna be a nice bump ride, and as they say, ride or die, sit down and relax. So, anyway, we're gonna get into the video, so let's get going, let's get it.
Number 7, Fast and Furious. So, in the fourth film of this collection, we have Dom Toretto and Brian O'Connor trying to track down a killer that killed Dom's girl, and they are trying to get the revenge on what the killer did to Dom's girl. So what I thought of this movie was that it was really kind of shallow. It was really kind of average. Didn't really have much going. It was just basically pretty basic. It just didn't really work. It was important to the story, but that was about it. So now we're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was that it had a great opening scene. It had a really cool car chase in, the middle of the desert. And it was important to the story. So now onto the bad. The bad. So what was bad about this film was it was a slow film, really stable. It was kind of boring, not much going on, and it didn't have much action scenes. Plus, it just seems like it was just there to be there. So now the ugly. The ugly. The only thing I could think of is that it got received poorly. So now on to Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 29%, which makes sense since it was kind of a boring, bland kind of movie. I mean, it was still good, but it was just really stale, and it's also on the bottom list. So, I rate this movie a 3 out of 10. Now, the reason it's a 3 out of 10 is because it was the bottom of our list. It's not that great a movie. It's kind of stale and boring. And it just didn't get there. Now, would I recommend this movie? Yes, but I wouldn't buy it. It's just not good enough to buy. But it is important to the story, so you definitely should see it if you want to continue the story. Anyway, on to the next movie. Number 6, Fast and Furious 6. So, in this film, we have the Fast and Furious crew trying to track down a gang of lethal skilled mercenary drivers whose second in command is someone Dom's knows. Unable to take them down, he then asks the Fast and Furious crew to help him take down these mercenaries in exchange for their freedom so they can return home. So what I thought of this movie was that it did a good job. It was better than the fourth one, but it still wasn't really that good of a movie, partly because I felt like it was more about the action scene shots instead of the cars. And that's what the whole movies are about the cars, and it just didn't feel like it was about that. Not only that, but it just wasn't really, it felt like filler, basically. That's basically what it felt like. So anyway, now on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was that had a great action scenes, and it was important to the story. So now, the bad. The bad. So the bad was that it didn't feel like it was about the cars, and it felt like it was more about just action scenes, and also the story was kind of felt like more like a good filler, and yeah. So anyway, now on to the ugly. The ugly. So the only ugly thing I could find was that it was hard for the producers to get the story to translate from Fast 5 to Fast and Furious 6. And that was about the only thing I could find. So now on to the Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 70%, which was actually quite generous for this film. I mean, it was a good film, but it felt more like an action film and a bunch of stunts than a car action film. Plus, the story was really basic, and it just didn't feel like it was about the cars. So I rate this movie a 4 out of 10. Now, the reason for that is that it was better than the last one, story-wise anyway, had a better story. And also, it was a great action film. It just didn't feel like it was like the rest of the franchise. Now, would I recommend this film? Yes, I would definitely recommend this film. But you should remember that it's not like the rest of the franchise. It's not as good, and it's just a little different. So anyway, on to the next film. Number 5, The Fast and the Furious. So in this film, we have Brian, an undercover cop, trying to find evidence of hijacking trucks from a group of gang racers, in which he finds himself in the gang of racers. So I thought this film did a good job. It was the first of its kind. It was really interesting and very cool. But since it was the first of its kind, they needed to work on some things. So now on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was that it was the first of its kind. It was very innovative, had cool cars, a cool, stunts, and it had a pretty interesting story. So now the bad. So the bad was it didn't have huge stunts and didn't have a deep story. So now the ugly. So there was nothing for the ugly, so now on to the Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 53%, which makes sense since it was the first film in the franchise, and they were figuring out how they were going to do it from then on. Now, I'm ranking this film a 5 out of 10. Now, the reason for this is that it's the basic middle-of-the-road film for a Fast and Furious movie. Plus, it was a lot calmer of a film and not as action-packed. Now, would I recommend this film? Yes, 100% yes. And now on to the next film. Number 4, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. So in this film, we have a new character which is in this side film that is still connected to the Fast and Furious series. And his name is Sheen Boswell, a racer that always feels like an outsider, but he defines himself through his victories as a street racer. His hobby makes him unpopular with the authorities, so he goes to live with his father in Japan. Once there, and even more alienated, he learns about an exciting new, dangerous, new style of the sport. The stakes are higher when Sheen takes on the local champion and falls for the man's girlfriend. So I thought this film did a really great job. I mean, it was something new. It was a breath of fresh air. It didn't have the same characters, but it just did such a good job, and you just don't see films like this. So now on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was that it had a great story, had cool cars, you grew with the character through the movie, and it was a new place, and it had great twists in the movie. Now, the bad. The bad. So it had none of the original cast, and the main character had a bad accent. So now on to the ugly. The ugly. So the ugly is they couldn't get certain permits in Japan, and the director had to spend a night in jail. So now, on to the Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 37%, which I was really shocked. This film was actually really good, and it didn't have the same characters, but it did a lot of things right, and it was really good and really enjoyable. I rate this movie a 7 out of 10. Now, the reason for that is that it did a lot of right things, and it was really a good film and had a great story, and it shouldn't have gotten that low of a score. Now, I think the reason of that is because it didn't have the original cast. So, anyway, would I recommend this film? Yes. Now, on to the next film. Number 3, Fast 5. So, in this film, we have the Fast and Furious crew on the run, jumping from border to border until they get to Rio. Once in Rio, they try to make somewhat of a life for themselves. by doing a big heist against a corrupt businessman who wants them dead. Also trying to complete this heist before the U.S. federal agents captured them. So I thought this movie did a really good job. It had a lot of cool action scenes. It had a lot of cool cars. It was a heist movie for Pete's sake, so you gotta know it's gonna be cool. And it had a lot of cool characters that were really memorable. And overall, it just was a really good, it was a good movie. So now on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was that it had awesome action scenes, and it had the great characters that you know and love, and new characters as well. It had a great story. It was a heist movie, so that was pretty cool. And it was important to the story. And yeah, so now on to the bad. The bad. So the bad was that it wasn't like the original movies, and also it was a little bit cheesy on some scenes, but that was about it. Now on to the ugly. The ugly. So the ugly was that there was a lot of challenging stunts that were really hard to film, and it was just really challenging for them to get it, all done. So anyway, that was the only thing I could find on the ugly. So anyway, now onto the Rotten Tomatoes. Now, on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 77%, which totally makes sense. This film was such a great film. It had great characters, it had great story, it had great action stunts. Overall, it was just a great film. I rate this film an 8 out of 10. Now, the reason for that is it's such a great film. It had a great story, great characters, great action scenes, but the one reason why it's not higher is because the one fatal flaw, and that is because it was using a heist movie as the idea, and heist movies are kind of redundant. So anyway, would I recommend this film? Yes. Now on to the next film. Number 2, Too Fast, Too Furious. So in this film we have Brian O'Connor moving from LA to Miami to start his life over and become more involved in street racing as him and his buddy get approached by the FBI to take down a powerful drug lord. So I thought this film did a really great job, and it was a perfect sequel to the first one, and it definitely built upon it. Now on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was that it had a great sequel. Now on to the bad. The bad, it had a typical story and it was a little cheesy. Now on to the ugly. Vin Diesel wasn't it. Now on to Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes it got 36%, which I was deeply sad in. This film should have got way more. It was such a great film. It was such a classic, and yeah. I rate this film a 9 out of 10. Now, the reason for that is it's such a classic movie. It was about the cars. It had great action scenes. And would I recommend this film? Yes. Now on to the next film. At number 1, Furious 7. So, in this film, we have Brian O'Connor and Dominic Toretto, and the rest of the crew have separated to return to more normal lives. However, Drake and Sean, Owen's older brother, is thirsty for revenge. A slick government agent offers to help Dom and the company take care of Sean in exchange for their help in rescuing a kidnapped computer hacker who has developed a powerful super surveillance program. So, I thought this film did a really beautiful job on everything. It took all the great stuff from the old movies and the new and kind of mixed them together and made it connect, and it was really action-packed, had great twists, had a great ending. It was just a beautiful film. Definitely the best. So now on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. So the good was basically everything in this film. It was so good. It had a great plot. It had a great cast. It had great action scenes. It had great everything. It was just so well done. So now on to the bad. The bad. So the bad, the only thing I can think of was that it was a little cheesy, and that was about it. So now on to the ugly. The ugly. So the ugly was sadly Paul Walker died in when filming this film, and they had to CGI him in some scenes. Also, they had to change a little bit of the script. So now on to the Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 81%, which this movie was totally deserving of that. It was so well done. There was great action scenes. It had great car scenes. It had everything for the old people that were into these films and the new people in these, watching these films. It just was so well done. It was so climactic. It had, everything. It just really was well done. There's just nothing bad at it. So I rate this movie a 10 out of 10. Now the reason for that is that it did everything right. It was just a really well done movie, and it was a perfect end to a perfect series, and it just was great. It did everything right. So now, do I recommend this movie? Yes, 100%. Definitely watch this movie. It is a fantastic movie. Definitely would recommend buying it for sure. And yeah, that was it.
So that was the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and also hopefully you all have a great day today. So yeah, that was the video. Hope you all enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one for another crazy collection video review. So I wish you all a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. So you all have a great day, and bye.